Hi, my name is Mrs. Travers and I am your teacher for ENG4U. And the purpose of this video is to guide you through the culminating activity, which is worth 30% of your mark. So where do we find it? Number one, I do want to point you towards the calendar that you'll actually see it in the calendar listed as due on July 26th. You can actually go in here to find the drop box and to find a basic description. But ultimately, there will be some very important points that I want you to look for. Number one, I'm going to post in the announcements right up here, and it could even be in the activity feed. The announcements is the number one place where I want you to look for anything related to this course. It's my way of communicating with you and guiding you through the information and where to find it. I know that it says that there's nothing there, but by the time you see this video, this will be in there. So the very first thing that I want you to do is to look through the content, and this will guide you through. So I'm going to explain to you in this video what the CCA is all about and show you where that information is. The basic concept of the course culminating activity is that you are reading an independent novel, meaning that I'm not guiding you through it, but that I have given you recommendations for what types of novels you could and should be reading. I sent out an email and hopefully a number of you got it. I primarily, outside of the VLE, communicate with you in Google, and primarily the one given to you by the school board. That's the one that you have registered into this course with. And so I sent that out a little bit earlier. If you didn't get that email, you can go check it out now, but also I'm going to show you where to find all that information. So even though the CCA is all the way down here in Unit 4, this course is actually designed that it's actually the very first thing that we do, because we want to make sure that you pick a book and that you're working on it for the duration of the course. So I'm going to guide you through that right now. While we do have some content, that it's primarily the introduction to this course is all about ensuring that you're prepared for the culminating activity. That's worth 30% of your mark. So what I've done here, mine might look a little bit different than yours because I can open and close things, that I've opened all the content so that as you're working through, you can actually access it and go back and access pieces of the content. But typically what we do is we go through Unit 1 and we go through all of the activities, and then we'll go through the other units. Unit 1, Activity 1 is actually where we're going to find our content for the CCA. So it's going to take you through some introductory concepts, resilience and adversity, and these are important to go through our notebook as described in the other orientation and introduction to using the VLE. So you should make notes on this in your notebook. But what we're here to do is we are looking for specifically the culminating activity. So let's read through this. Your culminating project will involve choosing and reading a novel independently. You'll apply skills and strategies that you develop in this course, and also apply your knowledge and understanding of resilience. And that's why the novels have been chosen, that the protagonist goes through something, that they face adversity, and they have to demonstrate resilience in order to overcome those challenges. So the first thing you're going to do is choose a novel, and the novels are listed here. And you can go through and select those. It is up to you, student, to locate the book. I do not provide them. I can make recommendations where to get them or purchase them, whatever is best for you. The best thing you can do is find your local public library and see if you can find any of these. In my email and in the announcements, you might actually also see some additional ones in case these 8 don't quite appeal to you. I've added some additional ones just to ensure that you have a wide selection of books that you have access to or that you would like to read. So as we're going through here, it's introducing the books, and you can actually read an excerpt, and we call this a book walk. And the reason we do that is because we're walking through each of the books to see if this is a book that we would like to read. So as we go through the book walk, your job will be to quickly find and access one of the books that are listed. It actually couldn't take that much time, and I wouldn't take that much time. I would look through the books and see which one is best suited for you. Here's where we get to the outline. Big picture is that you are going to be doing 2 parts to your activity. And I'm just going to take you through a slideshow right now. And I will be pasting this in a number of locations, so you will have access to this slideshow. There are 2 parts to this novel project. The first one, of course, is reading. And the second one is where we actually demonstrate what we read and analyze within that text. Some of the key parts of the curriculum in ENG4U is that we are looking to read and make deeper meaning of the text that we are reading, and to be able to communicate that analysis in a number of different ways. So in terms of choosing your novel and then reading it, I would highly recommend one of 2 things: finding sticky notes and then flagging your book as you read along, as you look for a number of different components that I'll go through here quickly. Or as you're reading, have a notebook on the side, and that you can make notes, page number, references, and why you wanted to do that. If you own the book, you might actually want to write in the book. Circle, highlight. I'll be showing you a number of different videos on annotation strategies. However, it's really up to you to develop your own style. But as you're reading along, you are trying to make meaning of the text, identify things that stand out, and looking for meaning within the symbols and the metaphors that appear. What we do is not only read the book, but then we got to communicate our analysis and our understanding of the novel. And we're going to do that in 2 ways. Number 1, you're going to create active reading notes. And this is basically taking all those sticky notes or those notes you made in your journal off to the side and putting those into a format so that I can see your analysis process as you're reading the book. The second part is that you're going to answer, it's actually 9 structured reading journal entries. And so I'm going to go through in this slideshow what those are. So however you present this, it can be just an ongoing Google Doc where you have the reading journals and your active reading notes all typed up into one Google Doc. It can be a slideshow. You can actually do a podcast where you talk through that. It can be pen and paper notes. What some students like to do is to write it all out by hand, and then they have to take a picture of it. So there's a number of different ways. Some people use websites where they upload their documents to a website, and they can actually paste pictures and make it a little bit more interactive. So there's a number of different ways that you can hand it in. You just need to find which way works best for you. So while you are reading and making notes, things that you should be looking for are characters, introduction of characters, and how those characters are developed, how they're described, how they're introduced, what's their purpose within the story, the narrative structure, any themes that you can identify as you're going along, and how do you know that's the theme? What actions or reactions or things that are happening in the novel that identify to you that that is the message or moral of the story? Any historical context is actually also really important. So some of these pieces are set back in time. So what's the significance of that time? Why did the author choose to write it in that time? Literary devices and meaning. This is really, really important. This is something that you should know by this point, is identifying a number of the literary devices. I'm going to be posting some additional resources just for you to review those. But when you identify them in your story, you should be recording them or writing them down. Now, this is something that we're going to be going through in this course, but any literary lenses that we look through that you can identify that your novel, say, for example, looks through a a different lens or a particular lens like feminist lens, then you can identify those as you go through. So I've got in this slideshow, I've actually got a couple of the things that it could look like, and the things that you should be recording as you go through, and that you can be recording in your active reading notes. I even have an exemplar here. Other things that I have within here too is that I actually have some links within this slideshow so that you can actually use this to start creating your own active reading notes using this. You'll have to make a copy and then keep adding. I've even included the very first chapter of The Kite Runner as an example of what it can look like. And then it gives you more chapters to carry on so that you can continue to do it in this format. The other component that I want to pay attention to is while you're annotating and making notes along the way, and there's some additional resources here, that we actually have part B, where there are journals that are outlined. And so I've actually created a document here that has each of the outlines. These are the 9 entries that are prompts and that you write about them. So these are the 2 parts. Part A is active reading notes, and part B are journals that you respond to each of the prompts. A reminder that when you have all that information, you want to figure out how you're going to display that information and those 2 key parts. When in doubt, you can always come back to Unit 1, Activity 1, where it outlines through all of these pieces. The very first part where you're annotating and making notes, and I encourage you to go through all of this content and ensure you understand how to make notes. This is a really important one, and it's a good orientation. It's a good first day activity. And here as well is outlining each of the journals. So that's right here in Unit 1, Activity 1. And then once we get into Unit 1, Activity 2, we're going to be moving on into more of the content about characters that demonstrate resilience within their journeys. As a reminder, within this particular course, you can also access, here's more information on that CCA and where you're going to hand it in. It's just a review of Unit 1, Activity 1. It looks exactly the same, and it gives you the drop boxes in which to hand in that information. So I hope that outlines the purpose of picking a novel really quickly and accessing it. I have found many students who have found more success, especially in a short time frame, of going on Audible or finding a reading of it, and that may be helpful to you. The only challenge with an auditory one is that it's a little bit more challenging to make notes, especially if you are traveling somewhere and listening to it, or listening to it in the car while you're driving. Those annotations or the active reading notes may become a little bit harder just because you don't have the text in front of you. So I would recommend that if you have an audio copy, that you do take time to find a notebook and jot down ideas, things that stand out to you as you are going through. Obviously, it'll look a little bit different because you don't necessarily have page numbers, but it is really, really important that whatever way works best for you, that you need to read a book in 4 weeks and accomplish this project, whatever that looks like to you, is absolutely fine. The other thing I wanted to remind you about is that I talked about an email. So I sent an email to your Gmail. That's your HPEDSB Gmail. And in it, it outlines all the different books as well as some alternatives. If you have any questions about those, please let me know. The other part of that is responding to that email to let me know which book you would like to choose. Take care, and let me know if you have any questions. You can email in the VLE or even to my Gmail or my board address. Thank you very much.